Om. Sit upright. Tell yourself, let me step out of the net of time. Suppose you say, I'm sitting upright one more time. That is the net of time. On the other hand, if you keep the memory in suspension, that makes you rooted in the present, and then you sit upright. That feels very fresh. Also, see whether you have this small tendency or latency. Next what? That is also net of the time only. Therefore, put that also aside. You tell yourself there is nothing like next. Sitting upright makes the body agile, lose its laziness, breath becomes even, mind becomes quiet, naturally quiet. Without any effort, mind becomes quiet. That is very important. When mind becomes quiet naturally, it is obvious that there is no struggle to make the mind quiet. Generally, we find it difficult to relax. Somehow, the system remains tense. All through the day. An element of nervousness, as if something will go wrong. That is how we find it difficult to relax. There is no big trick or anything, just give an auto-suggestion. Auto-suggestion is very powerful, very useful, because you don't depend upon anything outside in auto-suggestion. You learn to guide yourself. Tell yourself to relax. Check whether the body is relaxing, the legs, the thighs, the seat, the hands in particular, and the shoulders. They are kept loose. Check whether the hands are kind of ready to do something. No doing now. Let the hands relax. Shoulders also. Eyes are closed lightly. The idea is don't crush the eyelids. Only that much. Do you find it difficult to smile? Better to cultivate the habit of smiling. Smile. Keep it. Keep the smile. Maybe even when the circumstances are not favorable, you can still keep the smile. That gives a space with reference to the happenings around. Now you notice that you are fully attentive, yet relaxed. But the mind is quiet, naturally quiet. This is meditation, very simple. This is not a doing. This is not a karma. This is your natural state. In this state, you are. Only that much. You are nothing in particular. Just you are. What you may call the pure being. Just be. Not being this or that. Just be. That is you. Just be the being. That is you. You are the being. Pure being. Which is neither this nor that. That is you. Real you. Very simple. Now take an illustration. You are standing on the bank of a river. and watching the river flowing. You visualize that way. The river is flowing. And there is content in that flow. Some dry leaves, dry pieces of wood, etc. There is always some content in that flow. And you are watching from the bank. You are not in the flow. You are not connected with that content. You are just watching. Flow is a movement, but watching is not a movement. You be and also you watch. Watching is not an action. You are watching the flow and the content. There is no effort involved because watching is not an action. You are just watching. No effort is there. You just imagine, suppose that the flow of the river is life. Life is a flow and it has content in the form of events. Can you be like that? Generally, you are in the flow called life. You are not on the bank. There is no space. You are in the flow. You are connected to the events that happen constantly. That is how you are living, right? Just imagine, suppose you step back. Step back where? Step back into your own being. Just be. Step back into your own being and watch the flow of life. The events happening. The flow has content in the form of events, small and big, unimportant as well as important. That is all subjective, you know. The events are events. Don't give a label to them, important, unimportant. Drop the labels. Favorable, unfavorable, drop those labels also. All of that is a projection of the mind. So avoid all projections and watch the life as it flows. It has content. and you watch the flow along with its content. You ask yourself, can I do that? Suppose I do that. Just like watching the river flow from the bank. Similarly, I establish myself in my own being. That is the homestead. That is my homestead, the being. And then watch the flow of life. Life is not static, it is a flow. And it has content. Content in the form of things, people, and events. That is the content. Can I stand apart from the flow and the content and watch the flow and the content? Can I? Don't answer. Don't say yes, don't say no. Just stay with the question. Can I stand apart and watch the flow? This inquiry is called meditation. That is meditation. Meditation is not a pursuit of some images or visions, etc. This is meditation. You try to understand yourself vis-a-vis the flow of life with its content. All content is in the flow, none in you. Can I watch from the bank the flow of life, the events, etc.? Can I do that? Keep this question in your heart. This gives you tremendous freedom. Relax. Sit at ease and relax. Slowly open the eyes. People assume many things about meditation. And what all they assume about meditation, unfortunately, is not part of life. It is kind of separated from life. That is not the real meditation. That is some kind of meditation. Meditation should be part of life. That is one thing. Secondly, people have ideas about spirituality. Spiritual means either it must be some karma, some mantra or tantra, some esoteric thing it must be. Then it is called spiritual. That is also assumption only. The true spirituality consists of understanding yourself and what you call life. That is the true spirituality. So you may look at what is said in the meditation from that standpoint. Now we say the verse and then answer a few questions and then come back to the verse. Avacchinna ivājñānātt. If you have parichinna ivājñānātt, that is also correct. So you have parichinna. Okay, let us say like that. Parichinna ivājñānātt naśyejjalaṃ sati kevalaḥ Svayaṃ prakāśate hyātmā meghāpāyeṃ'śumāniva. That is Atma. It is about Atma. Atma is you. Don't think that Atma is some kind of a spirit or something. Okay? Atma is you. In fact, you are the spirit. What else? The spirit. Okay? Now, one or two questions, simple questions. Light need to be turned on to dispel darkness. Isn't turning on the light an action? That is outside. You put the switch on, and before that you do wiring. Come on. All of that is not the point. The point is, light is there, and you see. There is light and you see. That is not action. Okay? But putting the light on, is it not an action? But before that, fixing the switch by calling the electrician there, is that not an action? But before that, purchasing the switch and the wires, is that not an action? But before that, making money to purchase the switch and kya baat hai? Not that way. Light is there, you see. Seeing is not an action. Okay? So it is not action. And then karma. The action is an action, karma. Generally, the word karma, it is used in two senses. One sense is the ritual. That is the sense. Interestingly, in Gita, when Shri Krishna talks of karma, he is talking of the rituals. Karmanyavadhikaraste, if you see Bhashya, etc., he is talking of rituals. And that we apply to general actions that we do in the world also. Okay? But unless otherwise stated, in Gita, the word karma, or even in Upanishads, the word karma means the ritual. Okay? You purposefully make it broader, then it becomes an action. You have to know the difference. You should not take right away, karma means action. Okay, karma means ritual, but then broader meaning action. Okay. Action follows understanding. If appropriate action is not there, then does this mean the understanding is incomplete? No. Action follows understanding if action is warranted. If no action is warranted, then understanding is enough. In both cases, understanding is complete. Suppose you see a snake, real snake, like in Arizona. There used to be many snakes, now also they are there. You see a real snake. Good that you are able to see it. Suppose it is dark, you cannot see it. But fortunately, the light is there and you see it. That is complete. Seeing is complete. Then what you do? You do whatever you do. You step back. You move in the other direction. Or do whatever. Something else you do. That follows. That you need not use. The action that follows, it need not be coupled with the understanding. That is, that action follows understanding. Understanding is complete in itself. Okay? That is real snake. Suppose it is imagined snake. There you have a rope. There is no snake. Now understanding. You see, you made a mistake that it is snake. And the mistake is corrected. It is not a snake. It is only a rope. And you know it. That's it. You need not do anything about it. There is nothing to be done about it. There may be something to be done about it also. You take that rope away and put somewhere. Therefore, that is not the point. Knowledge, understanding is complete. Generally, the karma people, they ask this question. How can understanding be complete? It must be followed by action. They ask that question. Because for them, knowledge is of that nature. The knowledge that they acquire is of that nature. Meaning, without karma following, the knowledge has no value. That is the kind of knowledge they acquire. And therefore they assume that all knowledge is like that. This is the karma people's contention. Knowledge in itself is incomplete, birthless. It becomes meaningful only when appropriate action follows. You learn how to do puja. That learning is incomplete until and unless you go and do puja. That is how they argue. And therefore all knowledge is of that nature only. All knowledge, this applies to all knowledge. Therefore knowledge can never be independent. Knowledge must necessarily subserve the karma. This is the very strong thesis of Kumarila Bhatta, of the Purva Mimamsa. In Vedanta, we say the knowledge that we are talking about is not that way. The knowledge that you are talking about is all right, that is how it is, but not the knowledge that we are talking about. The knowledge that we talk about in Vedanta is complete in itself. What about action? It follows if it has to follow. That is separate. Okay? That is how we look at it. So that answers that question. I will answer just one more question and proceed to the verse. You see, this is a question which came from Andhra Pradesh, from a young lady. The beliefs I had before studying Vedanta, they keep bothering me. This problem is there with a few students of Vedanta. I hear it all the time. For example, they have a habit of, say, doing mantra japa. Why should you do this mantra japa? It will give you the grace of God. And then if your financial status is not good, meaning your credit score is very poor, is that what it is? Yeah. So if your credit score is very poor, this mantra japa will help you to get a better credit score. Your finances will improve. That is the kind of mantra. And so some guru has given it. Now the person is chanting that mantra. And so now after coming to Vedanta, all of that is kind of dismissed, It is not validated. These mantras, most of these mantras are made up, except some of the standard mantras like Gayatri mantra and all that. Many of these mantras, they are made up. So you may ask, how do you know? I don't know. I don't have an answer to that question. When I see a mantra, I can tell you whether it is original or it is made up. I can tell you. Somehow, I had that training in life. Therefore, I can tell. Okay? Many of these mantras, particularly the mantras that are supposed to bring the financial status up, etc., they are made up mantras. Okay? So that is how the religion evolves. The religion comes out with all kinds of things, So, therefore, this mantra japa is there. The person was doing the mantra japa earlier. Now the Vedanta has come. Now what to do? If you ask me, the answer is obvious. Drop all these mantras. First check what kind of mantra it is. If it is Om Namah Shivaya, keep it. If it is Shri Rama, keep it. Standard mantras are there. You keep it. If it is Gayatri, keep it. If it is some Aim Glaum, Kleem Glaum, Gana Ganapataye, Varada Varada Swaha, that you need not keep it. You can drop it. Okay. You must have known all these mantras, that's why I am telling. So you can drop it. So suppose some mantra, He Kartaviriyarjunaya Swaha, you can drop it. So there are many such made up mantras. You can drop those things. This applies to stotras also. The chants that you make, it applies to there also. You check which is the right one to keep and which is you need not keep it. You may drop it. You have to do that. But here the question is, I am afraid, kind of there is fear. Because the people who give these mantras, they put some fear also into it. Like in Ayurveda, medicine comes with anupana. You have to take this medicine with honey or with buttermilk, like that. There is always, the medicine is taken with something. That is Ayurveda, not in allopathy. In allopathy, you just gulp the pill. If you need water, that is your lookout. The pill doesn't need water, okay? So whereas in Ayurveda, anupana is always there. Similarly, in religion, whatever ritual they offer you, they ask you to do, or whatever mantra they ask you to chant, they put some anupana of fear into it. The fear, it comes with fear. And therefore that fear takes roots in your mind. And therefore now you are afraid. So this is a problem. So this it gives insecurity. What is the insecurity? Insecurity of losing those things. Suppose you give up those mantra, then you may lose your financial status. Because the mantra itself is meant for improving the financial status. That fear may be there. And then fear of missing out, divine retribution. People are afraid like that. Divine retribution. It is said in so many words. If you chant the entire stotram and fail to chant the last verse which glorifies the stotra, you will go to hell. There is a divine retribution like that. I am not giving examples. There are many such examples. Therefore, a person who doesn't know anything about this stotra, who is running, who is going into the world and enjoying all kinds of things, we don't know whether he will go to heaven or hell. But this person who is doing the Shanti mantra, etc., but fails to chant one verse at the end, he will go to hell. How unfair it is. So unfair it is, right? Obviously it is wrong. Obviously it is made up to instill some fear in the devotee's mind. This is the religious, this is how the religions function. The religious movement is like that. Movement, I mean the mind's movement. You have to come out of it. This fear, this insecurity is there sometimes. So, even as I understand, the Vedantic way is the truth. So, even after knowing that Vedanta way is the truth, you still hold on to some fear. So, how to get out of this fear? Therefore, I would say, see, you should believe in yourself. Once you know that the Vedanta way is the truth, then you should pursue the truth. Suppose by pursuing the truth, you will be thrown into hell. Suppose. Then you should be able to say, does not matter. Even if I am thrown into hell, I will pursue the truth. You should be able to say that. It need not be Vedanta even. Suppose you want to do PhD in some science subject. It takes 5-6 years after post-graduation. By then, those people who joined some job after post-graduation, they got married and got 2 children, made a home, and had a promotion also. By the time this person finishes PhD, the other guy who avoided this PhD has got all those things. And you look at him, you want to sit and cry, why I did this PhD? Why did I do this? So, therefore, you have to decide, you want to do PhD and lose all those things, or you want to go into all those things. To decide. Having decided about Vedantic truth, then what I lose out of it, what I gain out of it, this loss-gain equation, this kind of accounting, you should forget about it. I tell you one basic truth. In this life, there is nothing like losing or gaining. What you think you have lost, there is nothing you have lost. What you gain, you gained, you have nothing to gain also. Really. Loss or gain is all in your imagination. Okay? So, some parents don't have children. Some married couple, they don't have children. They think they have lost out. You can never say. And then there are children. They think they have gained. That also you can never say. Okay. Therefore, what you have to do, what you do is, you divide life into bits and pieces. Life is not bits and pieces. Life is an organic whole, it is. It is not bits and pieces. But these bits and pieces, these are conceptual bits and pieces. They are only in your head. Now you look at this piece in isolation. This piece, it is a failure. This piece is a success. Okay? So, like that you look at. But if these pieces, they are not pieces. There are no pieces in life. It is an organic whole. And therefore, what you look at as failure is not a failure. It has contributed its share to some good thing. And what you consider it as success, it is not a success. So, suppose you say, marriage is a success. What do you mean by that? You have to think about it. Suppose you say marriage is a failure. What do you mean by that also? So that means there must be an enormous conditioning in your mind to label something as success or failure. Without that conditioning, you cannot label it as success or failure. That conditioning must be there. And then you have to divide life into pieces and then apply this conditioning to each piece separately and then get worked up. This is how people live. You should stop all that. try to understand today morning's meditation. Okay? Stop giving labels. By giving a label, you are getting involved. Success means you are involved in it. Failure means you are involved. Suppose you don't give any label, success or failure. Because you are imagining things in labeling as success or failure. So, there is no success, there is no failure. Life has a flow and it has its content. And be a witness to that content, an involved witness. And that gives you tremendous freedom. What happens to happen will continue to happen. I'm not suggesting you don't go to office and all that. What things have to happen, they happen. But you stop giving all these labels as success and failure. Okay? I know one person. He had to seek divorce from his wife. And he was very distressed. And then time passed on. Time doesn't stop. The flow continues. Continued on and on and on. The divorce has happened. And now he is alone. And he says, God has really blessed me. That is what he says. Then there is another person. He was alone, not getting married, no marriage. 30, 31, 32, no marriage. So what mantra should we chant for getting married, etc. And there's all kinds of struggle. Finally he got married. And he is happy too. Therefore, how you get happiness? From marriage you get or from divorce you get? So you just keep an open mind about all these things. I gave some extreme examples. So you have to, this fear, insecurity and worry, you refer to yesterday's class and all that, and you believe in yourself. Once you know the Vedanta way is the truth, you have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in what you know. You know and you believe in what you know. And you believe in yourself to follow the path that is the right one. So you have self-confidence and move forward. Good. You see, here we are talking of Atma. We have to find out Atma. Yesterday I was talking so much about Ajñāna. Ajñāna is the absence of knowledge, ignorance. Ajñāna is ignorance. Ignorance of what? Ignorance of yourself. Ignorance of yourself. You see, suppose a child is there in the village. So we were children in the village, born in dust and heat and dust, tropical climate, brought up in dust and heat. And so we were feeling that we are fit for nothing. Some poor children living like donkeys, this and that. That is the self-image that we had as children. Okay? At that time, suppose somebody comes and tells Tattvavidananda, we would never have believed it. We would never have believed it. Tattvavidananda. But then, though as children we were nobody, I was nobody as a child, but there was a potential in me. The potential remained hidden or covered up. And I have to bring it out. I have to work hard, study well in the school. You all know this game. Then you study well in the college. And then today you are a proud citizen of a great country called USA. So could you have believed it if it was told when you were a high school student? You could not have believed it. It is all there in you. Only it remained covered up. Now it has manifested. The cover is gone. Now you know your true potential, your true nature you know. That is, I am a scientist, I am a proud citizen of a great country. I am this, I am that. You know that, right? So, when you were a kid, if somebody said you are this much, you could not have believed it, right? So, at that time, suppose I say, as a young boy, you did not know yourself. Suppose I say, will you agree with me? You did not know yourself, right? Your true self, you did not know. As a young kid, you did not know your true self, right? You agree with me, right? Suppose I say, even today you do not know your true self. Will you agree with me now? Yeah, that is where it stands. You do not know your true self. So, you have yet to know your true self. And how come? I am myself. I do not know myself. What is the problem for that? The problem is the ignorance, ajñāna. That ajñāna, we talked so much about it, but still it is there. Ajñānāt parichinnaha iva. Due to ignorance, you feel as if you are constricted. Parichinna. You are constricted. Do you know the meaning of the word constrict? That applies to what I am trying to say. Constricted. You feel you are constricted. Like what? Like I say, I am mortal. That is what I say. I am mortal. Martyaha means I was born and I am going to die. I feel that I am mortal. But suppose, am I really mortal? Suppose I am immortal. Suppose. You see, to be mortal, you must be in the time. You must be within the parameter of time. The parameter called time has you in its grip, or you are in the net of time. When you are in the net of time, you will die one day. You will come to an end. That is what time does. What is the job of time? Job of time is to put an end to everything. That is the job of time. People don't know that. People think that time is the chronogram. Time is not just the chronogram. Time is sarva bhakshakaha. It devours everything. It ends everything. That is what time is. Okay? Now you believe that you are in the grip of time or in the net of time. Suppose I come and say, you are timeless. You are timeless. It makes a tremendous difference between being in the net of time vis-a-vis timeless. Tremendous difference. For example, people suffer to no end because of the memory of the past. The past comes like a wave and makes us measurable. Right? In fact, all sorrow, without exception, all sorrow has its origin in the memory. Okay? And all fear has its origin in the future, the imagination of the future. The moment you think of the future, you become insecure. Did you notice that? You need not do anything more. You just think of the future. Think of the future means, how can you think of the future? Future is utterly unknown. Future is the unknown. Do you know I want to push this a little, please bear with me. What is the meaning of the word future? F-U-T-U-R-E, future. What is the meaning of it? The meaning is that which is not known, unknown. Okay? Future means unknown. Suppose something is known, is it future or past? Past. Something which is known is past. Something which is unknown is future. Some common sense, thoda, you have to use some common sense, okay? Some common sense you have to use. You put the common sense aside and talk, I cannot help. So are you ready to use some common sense? Suppose you know what is going to happen tomorrow, suppose. Is that a future or is that past? It is past. Huh? It is past. It is not future. So, for example, I have taken this house is in mortgage and it will be free from mortgage in the coming 2 years. That you have known. It is known to you. That is not future. That is past only. How that is future? That is not future. Then what is future? By very definition, that which is not known, the unknown, is the future. Okay? Now, did you get that? Then in that case, you have to say that which is the future, that which is the unknown, is utterly unpredictable. You should be able to say that. You should be able to say that. 9/11, could anybody predict it? Now some people get up and say, we have predicted it. After the event, they make a claim. Okay? So somebody says, I have predicted it. Nostradamus has predicted. How Nostradamus has predicted? He said, some fireball will come from the sky. That is what he said. Is that a prediction? Is that prediction such a vague thing? You can apply it to a dozen events, not to one event. What Nostradamus said, take one sentence, you can apply it to a dozen events that happened in the last 10 years. Okay? What kind of prediction it is? The prediction is theoretically not possible. It is like Einstein's law. No object can move beyond the speed of light. Okay? Okay? So similarly, theoretically not possible to know the future. Because if it is known, then it is not the future anymore. Therefore it is the unknown. So therefore you cannot think of the future. I have digressed. Therefore there is nothing like thinking of the future. There is no such thing. There is only imagining the future. That is all you can do. You can only imagine the future. You cannot think of the future. Yesterday we were talking about it. The anticipated will never happen, and the unexpected will certainly happen. Because the future is like that. It is the unknown. And therefore, you imagine the future. It's a mistake you are doing. You imagine the future and develop insecurity. That is what you are doing. That is ajñāna. So you are caught in the net of time. You are caught in the net of time. The past and the future. The past contributes shoka, sorrow. The future, the imagination of the future. Past is dead. How can it contribute to shoka? The memory of the past contributes shoka, not past. The memory of the past contributes shoka in our life. The imagination of the future contributes bhaya, fear or insecurity in our life. Then what about the present? Present means not the true present. The present is sandwiched between the past and future. The today, which is the continuation of yesterday, that is the present we know. We do not know the real present. The only present that we know is the continuation of yesterday. That is the present. For your information, tomorrow is also the continuation of yesterday only. Okay? So, therefore, you do not know the real present. What you call present is sandwiched between past and future. You are caught in the net of time. You understood this principle? How am I caught in the net of time? Because of ignorance. Ajñānāt. Avachinna. You take yourself to be caught due to ignorance in the net of time. That is one mistake. You see, I tell you, this paricheda is a constriction. Means your potential is this much, but you feel only this much. That is the paricheda. Okay? I give you an example. Space is infinite, right? But ghatakasha is limited, right? Ghatakasha, part of space is limited. Space is unlimited. How come ghatakasha become limited? Because ghatakasha is constricted by the volume of the pot. Really? Not really, as though. Not really, as though. Okay? Because if you take some water from a pot and put it in the cup, then the water there reduced. It was short. And here the water it takes the shape of the cup. Therefore, water is really limited. But you cannot say that to space. Because space has no parts. Space is a continuum. It has no parts in it. And therefore you cannot limit the space really. But you still believe that the part limits the space. Now the part, did it limit the space? No. If it limits the space, then the space is inside the pot. That is what is called limiting the space. But the fact is, space is inside the pot, it is outside the pot, it is in and through the pot. Now, is the space inside the pot or pot inside the space? Pot is inside the space. Therefore, why do you say ghatakasha? There is nothing like ghatakasha. Ghatakasha, there is nothing like ghatakasha because the volume of the pot never limits the space. Never. Therefore, you are using the word ghatakasha just out of habit without really understanding space. And if you understand space correctly, you will never say space is limited by pot. You will say the entire universe is contained within this space. Entire universe, not only the pot, the entire universe is contained in this space. That is the glory of this space. But such a glorious space which is limitless, which has no boundary, you created a limitation, a boundary to that space and called it ghatakasha. This is called paricheda. Paricheda means limitation. Parichinna means that which is limited. Okay? Now, you have to know about yourself. That is the job of Atma Bodha. You have to know yourself correctly. All suffering in life is because you failed to know yourself correctly. You have a serious misapprehension of yourself. That's why you are suffering, and this suffering will continue to no end as long as you keep that misapprehension going. And this misapprehension has come because of ajñāna. You see, people want to hear some routine things. They generally do not want to consider, or they don't get interested in weighty things. The weighty things they postpone. Suppose it's something like, let us walk for a mile and come back. you will come forward. Okay, let us do it. Suppose I say, let us start and walk on and on and on endlessly. You say, you please go ahead, you drop out. You are not willing to take up that kind of a thing. People are like that. They don't want freedom. They don't want knowledge because they are insecure. Suppose they get freedom. Suppose they get knowledge and they get freedom. What will happen to my bank account? What will happen to my wife and children? What will happen to my job? That is how people are insecure. When there is some kind of fear in you, that won't give you freedom. You are not free anymore. You are a slave to the fear. Now, why do you want freedom? To think, you need freedom. To know, you need freedom. Without freedom, how can you think? How can you know? Therefore, even to know Atma, yourself, you need freedom. You should be free. Then only you can know. And you can be free only when there is no fear to examine. There is no hesitation. There is no insecurity or fear to examine a thing. You should be prepared to do that. Why I give so much of a build-up? Because your mistake or misapprehension lies in your belief that you are born. That is the Avacchinna. You are born. Okay. Now you put the switch on. The light bulb glows. Now can you say the electricity is born? Can you say that? You cannot say that. You cannot even say the light is born. You cannot say those statements. So, but you see, this is the weighty matter. This you have to consider. People are not willing to consider this. Therefore, what they do, they assemble. Somebody comes and he doesn't raise such a fundamental questions. Says, you let us do this puja. I will tell you what puja to do. And by doing this puja, your credit score will improve, he will say. And you all go after him. Then somebody like me comes and asks the question, are you the doer? That is the question I ask. Then you say, oh, what kind of question it is? We are doing all kinds of things and we have arrived up to this point and about to do so many other things also. Today, Saturday, Sunday, we are doing less things. But as Monday comes, we will be doing more things. And why this man asks such a silly question, are you the doer? Suppose I am not the doer, we will see that later. We will examine it later. So people, they don't have freedom to think. Don't say that I am complaining, because my complaint is very valid. People don't have freedom to think. Why they don't have freedom to think? Because they are insecure. They are not sure whether they want freedom. So, suppose you go to the penitentiary and collect them in a courtyard and tell them, we are now making all of you free. How many of you are willing to walk out? All hands won't rise. Because some of them worry, what will we do outside? So let us remain inside. Because if you remain inside, the bell and the food, no bill. Okay? Whereas if you come outside, there is no bell, and unless you pay the bill, there is no food. Samsaris are like that. They don't want to examine weighty questions. That's why sometimes I feel, why should I take such a text like Atma Bodha? This you have to handle it, you know. And when the people are not ready to look at such weighty matters, so you feel unsure of yourself how to handle it. Because people, they don't want to examine these issues. For example, if I go to Rishikesh and tell in a group of 20 sadhus that you are not born, they look askance at me. If that is how it is among Swamis, sannyasis and Rishikesh, then what to speak of people who have assembled in Phoenix? To speak of it. Really. Because this particular verse, it just sits in my throat, it doesn't go down. Because I don't know how to handle that verse. People are not free to think. They are not ready to cut asunder the shackles. They prefer to remain within the shackles. I always remember one incident which is reported in New York Times. A person who served in the penitentiary near Chicago for 30 years, he was released. He became old and he was released. He came out and started living. They gave some money also. He started living a life, but he found this life outside in the great city of Chicago. He is not up to it. And then he doesn't know what to do. He went back to the jail superintendent and said, I will come in. He said, no, you cannot come in. What do you mean I cannot come in? I was here for 30 years. No, you cannot come in. I can take only a prisoner when the judge's order is there. Otherwise I cannot take. Get out, get out. So he came out. Then he went to the Chicago downtown, where this Sears Tower is there. And all buildings are there, the shops. They are all glass, big glass doors. Not doors, walls. Glass walls. Not brick walls, glass walls. And he carried some 10-15 stones and started throwing at those glass walls. And he broke 2-3 glass walls. Immediately 911 phones went and screaming came a police car. 2-3 police cars have come. And immediately they caught hold of him, arrested him, put behind the hands and they handcuffed him and put in the police car and took away and put him before the magistrate. The magistrate asked, why you are an old man, seem to be a nice person, good looking person, why should you go to the downtown and throw stones on the glass? Why do you hate them? No, I don't hate anybody. Why do you want to do that kind of destruction? I am not interested in doing that. Then why did you do that? Because I want to go back to jail. A felony you commit so that you will go back to the penitentiary. The judge was very sad. He said, as per the law, I am committing you to the penitentiary for 3 months for this felony or misdemeanor or whatever. And then I will ask the government to come out with some welfare scheme for these people who are sent out of the jail, so that they don't need to come back to the jail. They want to come back to the jail. What a misfortune it is. Samsaris are like that. They don't want freedom. And therefore, they are not willing to examine the enormous conditioning that is constricting their svarupa, their essential nature called Atma. So many rings of ignorance, layers of ignorance are covering up that Atma. Parichinnaha. Now the Atma, it feels, Atma is you. It feels, your Swarupa feels to you as a morose, unhappy, insecure entity. That is how it feels to you. And because of this enormous amount of ajñāna that you allowed to be piled up around your Swarupa, your essential nature. That is the explanation for that expression, parichinnaha iva ajñānāt. You see, And one more word I will introduce, kevalaḥ. That is what you are. Kevalaḥ is coming. That is what you are. In Hindi, kevala becomes akela. That ke this side and va that side if you put, kevalaḥ becomes akela. You are the one without the second. That is what you are. You are like the electricity. You are not the bulb. You are the electricity. But you take yourself to be the bulb. What kind of bulb? Zero candle bulb. And the bulb, they give a life to it. You see, when we were doing a UV spectroscopy, ultraviolet spectroscopy, there is a lamp will come. It has to give ultraviolet rays and they are passed through the sample and then you get a spectrum. That bulb which generates ultraviolet rays and passes through the prism at the lens, that bulb, it comes with a lifespan written on that. Guaranteed for 1000 hours. It may work more than 1000 hours, but if it fuses before 1000 hours, he will replace it. Such a guarantee. So, that is the bulb. That is the bulb. Not electricity. Dimag hona hai. The guarantee is for the bulb, not electricity. Once I was sitting outside a physician's office. The patient was inside and the physician was giving instructions to him. He was surgically operated, some bypass surgery, etc. was done. And the physician is telling him, I give you 5 years life, provided you follow all the instructions that I am giving you. And this man says, yes, I will follow all the instructions. I am very happy. I would have died 1 month back, but now I have 5 years to live. That is how he feels. And the doctor believes that he has given him 5 years life. And this man believes that he would have died otherwise. So, people have gravely mistaken about themselves. You are not the bulb which is bound to be fused. You are not the bulb. You are the electricity. One bulb fuses, nothing happens to electricity. 1,000 bulbs fuse, still nothing happens to electricity. Electricity is timeless. It is timeless. There is no time. It is not in the net of time. It is the bulb which is in the net of time. Okay? And the electricity is one. Bulbs are many. Bulbs are many. Okay? So, electricity is one. This means what? You are the Atma. You are not the personal. You are the universal. Can I say this to you and make you nod your head? Huh? Can I elicit the answer yes from you? Can I elicit it? It is such a tough job, I tell you. Really. Because your mistake lies in your thinking that you were born. The moment you say you were born, now you are the small little bulb, which is likely to fuse sometime later, which is called death. And people are waiting to die. They retire and they are waiting to die with fear. They are waiting to die and they are afraid of death. And then they are living, they are afraid of life. They are afraid of, if you are afraid of death, then you must be happy with life. But no, we are afraid of life. And we are afraid of life, then you should welcome death. Then afraid of death. So, this is how we are caught in the net of time. I described this net of time in a few ways, multiple ways, how we are caught in the net of time. Dear sir, it is so sad to see people caught in the net of time. you need not remain caught in the net of time. You can step out of the net of time if you want. This minute, this moment, you can step out. You have that freedom. But you must have that great longing for freedom. Because within the net, there is no freedom. You are bound. Whereas if you step out of the net, it is freedom. The other day, I wrote a couplet. I am not a parrot in a golden cage. I am a wild crane in the open sky. You see, you go and tell this to the parrot in the golden cage, which is eating pomegranate seeds and drinking mineral water. You tell this to the parrot and ask, will you be like that crane in the open sky? It says, I will think about it. The parrot. We are like that. It is an enormous mistake that you believe that you were born. The moment you believe that you are born, you became a bulb. Otherwise, you are not a bulb. You try this, and I may not be able to convey the enormity of the message. My words may not be enough. You have to try it and you have to prove it to yourself and see how well it works for you. You can live without the fear of death. You can live. You know why? Because somehow you have to hypnotize yourself that I am not going to die, I am not going to die. It is not like that. It is not the self-hypnosis what I am talking about. It is the gospel truth. To understand that you are immortal, there is no death for you. Therefore, you need not be afraid of death. So you can invite the God of death with open hands and with a smile on your face, because you are not going to die. To understand that, to feel that freedom, you have to understand that you were never born. You cannot keep one and lose the other. Either you keep both or you lose both. Okay? If you want pleasure to continue, this is how people of the world are. They want the pleasure to continue and pain should vanish. It will never happen. Because the pleasure and pain are like the obverse and reverse of a coin. It will never happen. But if you want to step out of the cycle of pleasure and pain, pleasure followed by pain, pain followed by pleasure, pleasure followed by pain, this cycle, the inexorable cycle of pleasure and pain, if you want to step out of it, you can. And when you step out of this cycle of pleasure and pain, you will remain in uninterrupted happiness. Uninterrupted happiness, not pleasure. You will not know what is pain. But are you ready to step out? When it comes to pain, you complain so much. You want to get rid of the pain. But when I ask you to step out of the pleasure, you are not willing to do that. You want to keep the pleasure. In fact, you do pujas to get into the pleasure. Now, how can anybody, you see, if you have some openness, one can pull you out of this pleasure-pain cycle and put you into uninterrupted happiness. But if you don't have openness, you want that pleasure, and somebody told you that I will help you to get rid of pain, but I will keep the pleasure for you. You go after that somebody. That is how the religions flourish. The religion of the masses has a promise to you. What is the promise? No pain to you, all pleasure to you. That is the promise. You must be the dumbest guy to believe it. You must be the dumbest to believe it. You are not willing to think about it. How can there be more pleasure and less pain. It cannot be. In human life, pleasure and pain are 50-50. You see, you do a lot of effort to gain more pleasure and get rid of the pain. You are stuck with 50-50. You don't make any effort to increase pleasure or to get rid of pain. You are still having 50-50. We have a proverb in Telugu. When the husband of the crying lady comes, my husband also comes. That is the proverb. Just briefly, a person has 2 wives and he went to the forest to bring wood. He did not return by nightfall. Maybe some tiger must have killed him. And so one lady, the wife, she is bitterly crying. And they live side by side, these 2 wives. The other wife, she is busy preparing food and all that. She is not crying. So all the other neighbors assembled ladies and went to her. Why are you crying? My husband went to the forest and did not return. It is dark. Maybe he was killed there by tiger. They were sympathetic. Could be. Then they went to the other lady. Why don't you cry? Why don't you cry? She said, when the crying lady's husband returns, you got the point? Okay? Therefore, you do all pujas, all japas, all mantras, all gurus. You do all and get 50-50 pleasure pain. I don't do anything and I am also having 50-50 pleasure pain. People are, they don't know their swarupa. So, I tell you, if you are willing to step out of the net of time, and if you are willing to step out of the pleasure pain cycle, please send me a message, I will come and take a class. Okay? Otherwise, have a good day. So how to step out of the net of time? So you have to examine, were you born? How do you assume that you were born? This is the most important thing in Vedanta. Why do you assume that you were born? How do you know that you were born? Is it not hearsay? It is hearsay. Somebody told you that you were born at such and such time. And also you see people, children taking birth. Children are born around, And therefore you assume, I too must have been born. Okay? So you do not know that you were born. It is entirely hearsay. Right? And then what about there are around children are being born? Now a child, is it born? Is it born? You examine it. The child is not born. The child always is there. That's why nowadays they do so much research about prenatal kind of thing. Right? Even before birth, they are examining the child, and there is a specialty in psychiatry of the child which is not yet born. There is a specialty in psychiatry. Look at that. Children's psychiatry is another specialty. Unborn children's psychiatry. What can you say? So how can you say the child is born? It is a convention that it is born. And not a very healthy convention. Because, why not healthy convention? Because every time you take, today is my birthday and you have to spend a lot of money from your pocket and overeat, which is not good for anybody. Okay? Then it puts you squarely into the net of time. You being the electricity, now you become a bulb and you are afraid of death. And now, because you are born, you are the body. And the body is ever changeful, therefore you are changeful. And the body is stuck with caste, creed, race, religion, and gender. Therefore, you are connected to race, religion, caste, gender, etc. through the body. And some good thing happens to the body, you believe good happened to you. Some bad happens to the body, you believe that bad happens to you. The hair becomes white, you become unhappy. The hair, there is hair loss, you become unhappy. People are badly caught in the net of time just because they have taken upon themselves all kinds of conditionings. You see, you have built, please understand, I'm saying with a kind of anguish, you may say so, you have built the walls around you and imprisoned yourself within those walls. All because of ajñāna. Therefore, now you cry and complain, oh, look at me, I am imprisoned. You can demolish those walls. You have built them, you can demolish those walls. So, we'll continue with this. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.